Thank you. Thanks for joining us for another edition of Dateline 360. I am Omotola Omojola. Education has proven to be the game changer in many societies as scholarship makes the difference in research and development for economic growth. While it is desirable for many, access to scholarly learning anywhere in the world is financially demanding, oftentimes discouraging prospective scholars from taking the path of knowledge. Some others are forced to drop out when the hurdle becomes too high to jump financially. It, however, comes as cheering news when President Bola Tinubu signed into law the student loan bill. While some indigent students, for instance, can now heave a sigh of relief, it is hope in sight for prospective students who aspire for higher learning. So how will the Student Loan Act operate, and what is the take of Nigerians on this development? Answers shortly. First mooted in the 8th House of Representatives and represented in the 9th House, the Student Loan Bill was sponsored by the Chief of Staff to President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, Femi Gbajabiamila, when he was Speaker of the House of Representatives. Now an act of the Parliament, National Assembly correspondent Mitaire Ikpen provides insight into the law.
The Student Loan Act seeks to provide easy access to tertiary education for students through interest-free loan with a view to expanding access to quality education for all Nigerians in the long run. The Act states that the loan shall be granted to interested students who have secured admission into government-owned public universities and other higher institutions, strictly for the purpose of payment of tuition fees, and it shall be interest-free. Under the Act, all students have equal rights to access the loan without discrimination arising from gender, religion, tribe, position, or disability of any kind. The Students' Loan Act provides for the establishment of the Nigerian Education Bank, which shall be saddled with the responsibility of disbursing the loans to qualified students. Eligibility for the loan includes formal application by interested students to the chairman of the proposed Nigerian Education Bank through their respective institutions. An applicant must have secured admission into any of the Nigerian universities, polytechnics, colleges of education, or any vocational school established by the federal government or any state government. The income or family income of the applicant must be less than 500,000 naira per annum to qualify for the loan. An applicant must provide at least 2 guarantors to include a civil servant of not less than level 12 in the service, or a lawyer with at least 10 years post-call experience, a judicial officer, or a justice of peace.
If you have teeming population of yours are youth, they will need to be trained, they will need to acquire skills, they will need to acquire some level of competencies. How and how do you make them, useful citizens to be able to contribute to the national development and indeed to mankind in general? So you will be producing quality materials that could compete with anybody. Unless otherwise, the schools are able to train them, and they cannot be able to train them unless school fees are paid, unless all, other expenses are being paid.
Already, the Act prescribes the establishment of the Students' Loan Fund, to which funds of the Nigerian Education Bank and other sources shall be paid. The funds of the bank shall consist of all interests arising from deposits in the bank, education bonds, education endowment fund schemes, and 1% of all taxes, levies, and duties accruing to the government of the Federation from the Federal Inland Revenue Service, FIROS, Nigerian Immigration Service, and Nigerian Customs Service.
Rather than have a loan scheme, a student loan scheme, the government can strengthen the Federal Scholarship Board, a scholarship board in which the indigent students, those who come from poor home but who are bright, are given scholarships, outright scholarships.
Although the provisions of the Students' Loan Act continue to be subjects of public interest and debate, there is optimism that the Act will afford indigent students the opportunity to access quality education at the tertiary level. In Abuja, Mitaire Ikwen for Dateline 360.
With the passage of the Student Loan Act, more Nigerians can now aspire to attain tertiary education, and dropping out of programs on the grounds of funding is no longer tenable. But many have questions about when the law will take effect, the process and mode of implementation. Abdullahi Musa Suleja has some answers.
Statistics show that less than 3 million Nigerian youth are enrolled into the country's institutions of higher learning in and outside the country. Many reasons are attributed to the development, but one major factor is lack of funds by either students, their parents or guardians to continue their education pursuit from post-primary level. The student loan bill signed by the president into law a few days ago came as a cheering news, especially to the indigent families. But while that is being celebrated, there are some misgivings in some quarters, and the Minister of Education has allayed such fears.
We've had cases with loan recovery rates, and for this, there's going to be a mechanism which the Act has already alluded to in terms of how do you grant these loans out. The qualification for you to benefit is that you are a Nigerian, you already have admission to a school. Because somebody is in public school or private school, you say, no, he will not benefit. No, it's not. I have some comfort that it will be depoliticized.
What happens if a beneficiary of the loan dies after graduation, or if he is not gainfully employed?
The loan recovery does not start until you get employed. If somebody dies, it's force majeure. You are not going to wake his dead body to pay you, or you wait for his children or parents to pay. No.
University autonomy has been a major issue between government and the university unions. How does the new law come in?
Government can no longer foot the bill for universities alone. That is why we are doing private-public partnership. The universities already have autonomy. The autonomy they are yet to have is financial autonomy for public universities. Once you know universities are autonomous financially, and government is working towards that. The president has also directed that he wants to see by September, October, this 2023-2024 academic session, recipients of this loan.
While Nigerians are waiting patiently for the next academic session when the students are expected to start benefiting from the loan, sustainability and positivity are seen as crucial in this venture, which developed societies have since leveraged on to deliver and expand tertiary education. Abdullahi Musa Suleja.
It is promise made and promise fulfilled as would-be beneficiaries look to September and October 2023 for the first disbursement of the student loan. Olayinka Ojo in our next report looks at process of sourcing the funds and eligibility for the loan.
The loan is to provide easy access to higher education for indigent Nigerians through interest-free loan from the Nigerian Education Fund.
A student loan can go a long way in helping students who cannot afford to get education.
Some students, they are orphan, and like that, they struggle and pay their school fees by themselves. So if this loan come, it will help them a lot.
It's a very good thing. It's a welcome idea. But are you sure they are going to utilize it?
But government should make it easier for parents, for the student to be able to have access to the loan.
And one thing about the student loan bill is that it repeals and replaces Nigerian Education Bank Act 1993, provides free interest loan applicable to university students, and is meant for only tuition fees. The funding sources are expected to come from Education Bond, Education Endowment Funds, 1% of taxes from FIRS, Immigration Service, Customs Service, as well as government profit from oil and solid minerals.
I feel in terms of funding from the custom, NIS, from FIRS, from our oil and other things, we need to also be forward looking, because the Climate Change Act also dovetails into some of these things because we are so dynamic about it. When we transit from oil, where will we get that other 1%? We will have to start thinking about that.
And the good luck is that we have experience already in this area. We already have a federal scholarship board scheme running. But the difference this bill makes is that it's going to be a loans board so that people that don't even have, for whatever reason, don't qualify could be able to apply for a loan.
With a flexible processing and payment plan of 30 days of processing and disbursement, repayment is 2 years after National Youth Service. On the issue of eligibility for the loan, the student must possess an admission letter and provide 2 guarantors. One interesting thing is that the employer of such student is supposed to repay the loan through direct deduction from source.
MD or the secretary should be given to somebody that is well experienced so that when issues will come up, we believe that he is going to handle it.
Another interesting thing is that for me, I believe that the fund should also be accessible for degrees that are self-generating, that will generate employment. So they might need to look at the areas where they are assessing those funds. We're talking about science, technology, engineering, we're talking about computer, we're talking about tech-related areas, so that by the time they are coming out, they are already employers of labor.
Today, both parents, students, and educationists see the new development in the education sector as a way out of most challenges facing nation building. Olayinka Ojo for Dateline 360.
From Plateau State, Priscilla Grumnan interacted with a cross-section of Nigerians and reports that many see the Student Loan Act as a prerequisite springboard for reviving education towards building human capacity for sustainable economic growth and development.
Out of the about 39.9 million Nigerian youths aged 15 to 24, only about 2.1 million students are enrolled in higher institutions. The introduction of the student loan scheme, if properly implemented, will revive the education sector and also improve skills development.
This government is coming up with a new ideas, and I pray that this will be well implemented. Now, our usual challenge here is issue of corruption. If corruption does not overtake this scheme, I think it will be very bloody. But if they don't change the status quo, honestly, it will not be different from past schemes we heard they have implemented without reaching the end users. But with this, it's going to boost the morale of students, it's going to encourage parents, and everyone will benefit from this scheme, especially indigent students.
The intention may be good, but the modalities and the requirements may not be too conducive for everybody. I think the essence of this is for more of the less rich to come to school, to go to school. That being the case, please review this. 100, not at least 100,000. Then when you talk about guarantor, the institution itself, where the student is, should be the major guarantor, because they will be able to monitor what the students do, their CGPA, their performance, and all that. If they are suspended, take a measure. The institution will write formally to the bank administrators, and they take notice that, okay, this is a suspension. As at this point, stop paying.
For the parents and students alike, the scheme is a welcome development, but expressed concern that with the level of unemployment in the country, repayment of loans will be a difficult task, as they advocated creation of more employment opportunities by the government.
Federal government should still go on to fund education for now, while trying to see how they can reduce the rate of unemployment and pump in more money into the education system first. And when there is stability, then we can start thinking of, okay, how can we loan students money and the universities can fund herself going.
I would say it's a very good idea, but a situation where we don't have job opportunity and we have a lot of graduates out there, no job opportunity, no work. So how will they be? How will a student that from 100 level to final year graduates based on loan be able to pay that loan?
We are happy if the thing will be done the way they were planning. If they can give the students finish the school or giving the parents to pay their children's school fees. After finishing, let the government give them the job. Then they can be able to pay. So we'll be happy if the thing will be materialized the way they were promising.
Considering the level of unemployment in the country, the Center for Entrepreneurship Studies of the University of Jos, for instance, is keen into its mandate of developing manpower through skills acquisition, running more than 10 programs for students with functional, artificial and robotics lab, internet and innovative hub, tailoring and photography, among others.
A few feedbacks I have gotten suggest that a lot of students, particularly at the postgraduate level, are interested in all that our facilitators are telling them. And we hope with time, particularly when we begin the components at the undergraduate level, we'll also be telling them what will help their mindset, right, to be able to identify a particular skill area that they can go in, and then we will encourage them.
Adopting practical and effective ways of implementing the student loans policy, key players believe is important towards reviving education that will in turn lead to human capital development and national progress. From Jos, Priscilla Grumnan for Dateline 360.
In Uyo, the Akwa Ibom state capital, reactions have continued to trail the Student Loan Act. Umar Basi Edet reports that stakeholders, while lauding the benefits of the loan, also expressed concerns, especially on the repayment conditions.
The student education law, according to the federal government, is aimed at providing interest-free loans to Nigerians seeking higher education.
While several terms and conditions apply to this student loan scheme, one which is of major concern is the repayment.
According to the provisions of the law, the students are expected to pay back in installment 2 years after graduation. This therefore places a huge responsibility on school administrators as regards the completion of studies as at when due.
But some constraints could be in forms of facilities, which we have been talking to the federal government to fund, because part of the funding we are talking about is to provide the facilities so that students can graduate in time.
We all know the areas of challenges in the tertiary institutions that prevent students or graduates from being mobilized to go for NYSC on time. And all those things are not far-fetched from relating to government controls and policies. So I think with this loan, the calculation will go down line and certain policies will be softened. That's
Beyond this, how financially equipped would the students be to enable them raise money for repayment shortly after graduation, especially in the face of dwindling job opportunities across the country?
Education without skill, you've not started. Our slogan says 1 polytechnic, 2 qualifications. Why so? Because we believe you cannot graduate with academic credentials alone without having skill, license to practice.
We expose the students to different skills. We will send them out to some of the businesses around to go and then learn how to acquire skills.
Some undergraduates share their thoughts on Nigeria's new student loan scheme.
That one will motivate a lot of students to be in school. It will reduce the number of hooligans around, and it will make the progress of the country.
Providing loan helps aid for students to continue their education. But on the other hand, I think there are some negative side to it too, because first and foremost, there are no jobs. If the students eventually now are done with schooling and they said the duration of payment of the loan is 2 years. So if there are no jobs, on the other side, we all know the situation in the country, there are no jobs on ground. So the means of students paying up the loans now, there are no means.
While many are optimistic at the long-term benefits of the student loan, some, however, have their reservations and also suggest that bursary would have been better for the students. From Uyo, Umo Basadate, Dateline 360.
Now, with expressed concerns about repayment of the student loan, tertiary institutions administrators have been enjoined to brace for entrepreneurial and vocational trainings for students to make them self-reliant post-graduation. Muiwa Omomi reports.
Education is generally believed to be instrumental to the economic growth and development of any nation. The signing of the student loan bill into law by President Bola Ahmed Tinubu is seen as a great leap to overhaul the educational system in Nigeria.
Good development, it gives the families of indigent but diligent children to have access to education at tertiary level. And it will also give universities the opportunity to regulate payment of fees to run the affairs of the university. And it will also afford the university the opportunity to build up infrastructure, teaching and learning facilities.
I also thank him for bringing such opportunity, because it will help us to at least to achieve our aims and our goals.
Accessibility, transparency, and accountability are the major factors people believe will spur the effectiveness and efficiency of the student loan.
If that one's going to be a continuous one, it's a very good idea, and there will not be corruption, and there will not be delay of payments.
In different schools, before students are admitted, different data are collected, in which after collecting the loan, they are still within the capacity of the school, meaning that the school will not allow them to run away after collecting the loan, even after their program.
The government needs people with proven records of integrity to control and lead this student loan board scheme. It's important for us. Government must establish a system where institutions will have a control in the processing and release of the funds, and also repayment plan. We really have to put control measures in place to ensure that there could be good recovery of the loans, so that people that are coming behind could also benefit.
An improvement on the entrepreneurship and vocational drive of tertiary institutions, some say, will serve as a catalyst for students that access the loan to pay back.
I believe with what is happening, the NUC, which controls the university system, the NCCE, which controls the polytechnic, the College of Education system, will have to sit back, and the curricula should be reviewed to reflect the current realities, the contemporary realities in the society, that people should be able to stand after graduation, not just to be able to pay the loan, but to be able to be self-reliant.
The loan, which will cut across tertiary institutions, will commence in September this year. In Oshogbo, Muiwa Maumi for Dateline 360.
That is the program for this week. We look forward to the successful implementation of the Act to the benefit of all on the quest for knowledge and for the good of the country. I am Omotola Omojola. God bless Nigeria.